Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me, Aaron. I really appreciate it. Manbaby is, I want to say it's a lot of fun, but there are times when it's really not, and almost horrifying. Um, but it's a wonderful short, and I was wondering where the idea came from.
Thanks, Steve. I think that there were a couple things going on when I kind of started writing the project, but obviously the biggest one was that my wife was pregnant and we were getting ready to have a baby in the house. And I think I just was realizing as much as I thought I really wanted to have kids and always felt that way, as the reality was coming closer and closer, kind of the realness of what like a newborn is, and how that affects your house and your relationship and kind of a lot of day-to-day things, um, was just looming as more anxiety or fear. And the standard response from anybody when you say you're pregnant or you're going to have a baby is, oh, congratulations, that's so exciting. But it seemed like there was something missing to me in all of those exchanges, that it was bigger than just, you say congratulations like when somebody has a birthday or a wedding. It's a little more clearly just a simple celebratory event.
You know, it is interesting to watch this play out, and because you're right, this is a film about change, and not, and I think I can say this. We don't normally see the story of a new baby from the father's perspective. Usually we hear about the struggles of the mother adapting and challenging, but I love the voice that you bring to this.
What I remember, I mean, then my daughter was born,
Mm.
and I was doing a play at the time. So we were here in New York and it was right at the onset of the pandemic. So I like did the last 3 weeks of this play and then everything kind of shut down. But I was like doing a show at night and then I would come home and feed the baby and lay down and then get up again. And then my wife would get up and go to work. And um, it was, it was just hard. Like I wasn't sleeping well and I felt really confused. And I remember my wife saying, for me, my body has like been changing for 9 months, 10 months basically. I have been getting ready for how big this change is going to be. And for a man, you're just kind of like, I went to some of the doctor's appointments and I was there with her, but men are kind of stupid sometimes in this really evolutionary way. So um it really kind of like struck me all at once. And I remember my wife talking about how, well, to her that made sense, that it would be more of a shock to me. And I felt like that was it combined so many things that are of interest to me as a filmmaker, which is like our bodies and our relationship with our bodies, and what are men doing and how are men kind of existing right now in our culture, and what does that mean. And so it seemed exciting.
Well, and it is true. I mean, women in the midst of this process going through tremendous changes feel so connected with the baby throughout the entire process. But for men, it is a different type of change in some ways. It is a different type of change, and sometimes the communication between husband and wife can be a challenge. Trying to understand, like you said, trying to understand and being on the outside. Why do you think it can be so hard for men to navigate change?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I just know that for me personally,
Yeah.
change is such a source of conflict in my relationship with my wife. The
Mm.
way that we navigate change is so different. And I think that for me, it's very personal. It has to do with all kinds of things about me and my personality and why my wife and I are attracted to each other, that we kind of go through things so differently. But it's always highlighted to me how much I struggle with change. And so I mean, I don't know that um, that's 100% universal for other men, but for me, it does seem like it's part of my male identity.
And of course, I don't mean to assume that all men are like that, but I connected with that. I've got two kids, and I remember, before our first was born, going, what is this going to be like? And what does this mean? And just that sort of relationship in the home to your life, and how it's going to be affected in a good way. And that's, children are wonderful. I love my kids, and I'm not suggesting anything otherwise, but there's that anxiety of what is it going to mean for me, that I think is so interesting about this film. um and I was just thinking of it from that perspective. Do you think that there's an aspect of parenting that men struggle to understand or fear more than others? Maybe from your own experience, or just in conversations you've had with other people. Is that something that you see, or no?
I mean, I think that's something that I feel like I have a lot of sympathy for other parents who, like me, have struggled with the weight of dependency, and like what that feels like when you have been a really autonomous 20, 30-year-old person who's had so much pressure put on what you want, what you're doing to get it, where you failed or where you've succeeded, that our culture is so um, individual oriented. We love individual success, and um, it's such a it's such a head trip to then have this really need. I mean, I was going to say really needy new person in your life, but to me, the other thing that was so haunting about a newborn is that they both require your attention and sort of have no interest in you at the same time.
Hmm.
That's what I remember the most about um, when my daughter was a baby, and I would be frustrated or like complain to my wife, which she would laugh at me because I was like, like she doesn't think I'm funny. She doesn't think I'm interesting. She doesn't think like anything of me. It feels like just thinking, are you going to feed me or are you going to help me sleep? Like it's so, it's so unnuanced, kind of that dynamic.
Well, yeah, again, like there's that relationship with the mother through the entire process. I remember thinking that when my son was born, it was like, I don't know who you are yet, and I don't want to mess that up. And that extra added pressure of having a new person in the home that you're meeting for the first time, and you're learning them and they're learning you. And I hear what you're saying, like, yes, like your kids are saying, oh, so you're going to be around a bit. Oh, you're going to take care of me, you're going to do this thing. They're learning your behaviors at the same time. It's fascinating. Oh.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, and the other thing that really kind of propelled the the script and the project, I guess, because I was kind of thinking about it as my wife was pregnant, but then of course once the baby was born, that's to me where the story really kind of comes together. And we were here in New York, I'm really excited that the film will have its premiere here at Dances with Films in New York, because it kind of feels like a full circle thing. I went away to Montana to make the movie, but anyways, it also was the start of the pandemic. And so we were like trapped in our house with this baby. We couldn't really even see a doctor. We did all these Zoom appointments with a pediatrician where they'd ask us to like, do you have a scale in your house? Put the baby on a scale and tell me how much it weighs. Um, and that kind of isolation, I think, just amplified so many of those fears and anxieties around like, who are you? I don't know you. There's nobody else is telling me like this is normal. No one's, it was just my wife and I kind of looking at each other like, I have no idea what to do.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't even imagine how that would shape the experience for sure. And it's interesting because there's this moment in the film, and this is why I say there's this moment where it's kind of scary, where you just coming up to the crib and it's just quiet and you're just looking. And I thought, what's happening? Wait a minute. Because there's this unknown element to it, and you can see that um this character is trying to figure out so many things, and where his place in the family is, and how his changing him, and all these things going on. It's really well done. um
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I cut that shot kind of into a trailer for the screening, and I was thinking about that shot a lot, actually. I'm glad that you brought it up. In the script, it's just like one line.
hmm,
He walks up and stands by the crib. But when I was kind of rewatching that and putting the trailer together, the thing I love so much about that shot is that it's like it was totally unexpected. I remember we were kind of in between some setups and we had that room dressed, and my production designer had kind of put that mirror up, even though I didn't had never thought about having a mirror in that room. And um, my DP had kind of set that shot up and said, hey, do you want to just walk into this frame for that piece of the scene? Um, and we just did one take of it.
hmm.
And I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't totally have it that clear, but then in the edit, I remember going back and looking at it and feeling like, well, this is this weird moment of suspense
Yeah.
that works really well in the movie, but I didn't totally understand that when we were shooting it. And I just think that's, you know, something I love about making movies is you don't totally know what you're doing. Or at least that's how I feel about it.
You know what? Honestly, like there are so many things that when you're making a film where magic just happens, and you're like, and you don't even realize what you're doing at the time. Absolutely. Um, Honestly, Aaron, it's a great short. It's a great little film. I was wondering what you hope people take away from Manbaby.
I think that, I mean, I feel like there's a part of me that hopes that it's uh, helps encourage some kind of conversation like ours a little bit between parents or fathers about something a little bit more accurate or true to that experience.
Hmm.
Also, I think a lot of my reactions in just sharing the screener have been like, oh yeah, I get it, Aaron. That's how I felt too. That's exciting. And also, I hope that people take away a little bit of an interest in seeing more of that world or that voice. I think the movie does have a really specific and strange um, mixture of feeling scary or suspenseful and being kind of absurdly funny at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It really does. Aaron, thanks so much for your time. I
Thank
wish
you,
you the best
Steve.
for the film. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.